you're losing it. And I'm losing it too. And no, I'm not talking about your keys or your temper. I'm talking about your brain. Since humans are, well, humans, we have handed over more of our doing, thinking, remembering, and even decision making. Manual labor, memory, directions, calculations, writing. Now, even our creativity and judgment could fade away. So the question is, what part of your brain can you afford to outsource, and what must we fight to keep? And the important question behind that, why do we need to fight for it in the first place? This isn't just about sounding smart. It's about keeping what makes us human and happy to live our lives. So let's get thinking. Hey, my name is Greg from RenU. I'm a master coach helping people, teams, and organizations to know, design, and become themselves. RenU and I are here to help you live a life where you have control. Let's rewind a bit. Let's say about 100,000 years. Our ancestors were walking calculators. Hunters tracked migration patterns from memory. Shamans stored encyclopedias of herbs in their heads. Then something changed and we started inventing tools, mastering fire. Most of what we invented through human progress has made our life easier and quietly made our brains do a little bit less one step at a time. We gave up some of our memory when we invented writing. No need to remember entire oral histories anymore. Just jot it down on clay, then paper, then bits. We gave up instinctual navigation with the compass and eventually with the GPS. Why learn to read the stars when a polite voice can tell you recalculating? We gave up numeric mastery with calculators. Why struggle with long division when your phone can do calculus for you? Right now, we're giving up focused attention with the rise of digital media. Your ability to focus is now fighting a battle against likes, pings, and reels. None of this has been with a negative intent in mind. On the contrary, it was seen as progress. Progress always comes at a cost somewhere. And we rarely stop to ask what we are really outsourcing and whether we should. Let's use a metaphor here. Imagine your brain is a Swiss Army knife. Every time we create a new tool or tech, we level down the tool. Like you would have a mighty saw that becomes a smaller saw and eventually a very small saw, until we fold the tool entirely. We don't use it anymore. It might still be there, but it's unused and fading away. Eventually, we end up with a limited number of tools, each one with limited potency to deal with life. Here is a quick exercise to reflect on, the brain tech audit. List 5 things your brain used to do that now an app, device, or AI handles for you. It could be remembering appointments, reading maps, spelling, mental math, storing random facts or ideas. Just take note of them. These are your folded blades. One of the ways that you can bring different tools to your knife is through mental models, which you can check them out here. Here is something that is a little bit surprising. Human brains might have been shrinking over time. Since between 20,000 to 5,000 years ago, our brains have gotten smaller by about 10 to 15% in volume. And the reason why is not entirely clear. It might be because it become more efficient, or it might be because we stopped using a number of functions in our brains. When we started to form a lot more societies, we basically outsource a lot of the information we kept individually into the group, the tribe. And it might well be that we have a reducing size of our brain because we are outsourcing a lot of functions, as we talked about. And functions makes the organ. This is not just a historical curiosity. It's happening right now, and the effects are especially visible in kids and young adults. Let's talk about the new generation, Gen Z and Alpha. They're brilliant and digital native minds which are growing up in a world where they don't need to memorize anything. Their reading habits are being replaced by TikTok. Their attention span is reportedly around 8 seconds, which is not a very long span of time for focused thinking. So the environment in which we live has created a generation that's faster with their thumbs, but slower with their thoughts. And it's become very apparent through reports from schools and universities. Reading comprehension levels are dropping, writing is becoming abysmal. Kids struggle with deep work or long-form thinking. There's a rise in anxiety and cognitive overload because of constant digital stimulation. So the environment is training young brains to be device operators instead of idea creators, or even to be operated by the device. This isn't about blaming the young. It's about recognizing a system and environment that rewards speed over depth, reaction over reflection. Let's have a coaching question for you. What do you think we're training our children's brains to be good at? And what are we letting atrophy? And how about yourself? Be honest. When is the last time you read a whole book, start to finish? For how long have you found yourself scrolling mindlessly today? How often do you switch tasks every hour? For me, it's the scrolling mindlessly. Sometimes, not very often, but it does happen. Here is a quick reflection exercise, the attention tracker. Today, track how many times you switch what you're doing. Just note it on a paper or in a note app. Also check what is the trigger for you switching. For me, it happens to be really looking at my phone for whatever reason. You might be surprised how fragmented your focus has become. This isn't about shame, it's about awareness. Because before we can sharpen the brain, we need to know how dull the blade has gotten. You like this video so far? Then you know what to do. Also subscribe and put on the notifications if you want to receive content like this every week. And check out other videos from famous YouTube channel in the video description. It's always good to look at a topic through multiple lenses. Okay, so we've been outsourcing brain power for centuries. And yes, some of that is actually okay. Not every function needs to be held close to our prefrontal cortex like it's sacred treasure. Maybe it's okay that we outsource spelling, for instance, or that we outsource navigation, and also maybe our calendar reminders to Siri, Alexa, etc. These things can help us free up mental bandwidth, which can be very useful if we want to apply our brain to more complex tasks. And with those complex tasks, we can generate more value for ourselves, for the environment around us. The problem is when we start outsourcing the part that makes us human. Let's take a look at what's non-negotiable. If we look at the brain in terms of two paths, according to me, there are a few things that we can afford to outsource because it helps us free mental bandwidth to do more important things. In the most complex elements of spelling, we should still be able to do simple spelling. The very complex arithmetic, though I do believe that we need to be able to run numbers in our head very easily. We need that for day-to-day life. Scheduling, to some extent we need to be aware of our schedule, but we can't necessarily manage all the details. Data recall, we want to have important data that matters to us in our head, but at the same time there's a lot of data that we cannot remember all of it. And directions, but at the same time we need to have basic directional understanding. These are basic tools. They are an extension of what we can naturally do. And they can serve us if they do it much better, but we still keep the kernel of it. But there are some functions in our brain that we must protect. Critical thinking, because it helps navigate the world and understand the decisions that we should take. Emotional intelligence, because this is what makes us human, interact with each other, connect with each other. Imagination, the creative element of who we are as human, a very important psychological need. Our intuition, which is based on the accumulation of experiences. Our ethics and values, because we have ethics and values which are universal as human beings, and we need to be responsible for those. Meaning making, because that's intrinsically human to want to find meaning in our life. You can't ask AI to figure out what gives your life purpose. And you shouldn't be trying to outsource your self-awareness or judgment or feeling deeply alive. Machines can replicate logic, but they cannot replicate wisdom. If outsourcing mental skills is like packing a suitcase, we need to be ruthless with what we take and what we leave. Don't leave behind the things that give your life color, context, and conscience. Coaching question. What's one human mental function you started to neglect, but deep down you know it's essential to your growth? Here is a quick exercise to bring this home. It's called a cognitive inventory. Draw two columns. Label one let go and the other one keep sacred. In let go, list 5 things you're okay letting tech handle it. Or not only tech, other people who can help you with this. In keep sacred, write down 5 mental, emotional, or creative abilities you refuse to lose. Hang that list somewhere. Let it be your guide. Because the danger isn't that AI will become more human. It's that we'll forget how to be. Let's talk solutions now. This isn't about nostalgia. It's about renaissance, a return to what matters, but with modern tools in hand. You don't need to live off the grid, churn your own butter, or memorize the entire periodic table to keep your brain sharp. But you do need to train it like a muscle, attend to it like a garden. So here are 4 powerful tools to protect and grow what matters most upstairs. The first one is cognitive training, workout for the mind. Do Sudoku, play chess, learn a new language. Apps like Luminosity and it are fun, but old school works too. Even reading fiction improves empathy and memory. Pick one brain stretching activity and do it for 10 minutes every day for a week. Bonus points if it makes you a little uncomfortable. For me is I do play Elevate every day. Plus, I also learn new languages. The second tool is deep reading, which is against doom scrolling. Short-form content rewires your brain for speed and novelty. But depth, insight, wisdom, that comes from long-form thinking. So read physical books. Even better, read them slowly. Even better than that, talk to someone about what you read. Choose one book that challenges your thinking. Commit to one chapter a day. Phone in another room. I personally read between 20 and 30 books per year. And additionally, I also read sometimes some short-form version in Blinkist. The third one is tech fasting, giving your brain some space. Our minds need silence, not just for peace, but for integration, creativity, and reflection. Try tech-free mornings, no screen in the first hour of your day. Feel what happens in the quiet. Little bit of a spoiler here. It's going to be uncomfortable, and that's where your growth starts. The fourth one is metacognition, thinking about thinking. If you want to level up fast your thinking, practice asking yourself why you think what you think. At the end of each day, journal one decision you made and ask, what shaped that choice? Was it instinct, logic, emotion, or habit? Would I make the same decision again now that I know this? Coaching question. What does your brain really crave right now? Stillness? Challenge? Connection? Purpose? So what will you choose to protect? Because in a world where thinking is optional, being fully human becomes revolutionary. And I'll leave you with this quote, which is worth etching into your neurons. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. Kindle your fire every day. And remember, the most human thing you can do right now is to keep thinking. If you want to keep sharpening your mind, then you might be interested about mastering stages of consciousness. That's where true mental depth resides.